Robin Williams has had some fantastic roles over the years, roles that stick out and make his career what it resembles today. But we often think of the roles that he never did, the characters that he didn't get a chance to perform as, or even the opportunity of expressing how differently those characters could come across. Today, we give ourselves an opportunity that some people may have thought of over the years, but never really thought about the outcome in the long run. Today, we do a fantasy booking on the roles that would have been interesting to say the least. Today, we broaden our horizons with the characters that Robin Williams never did. This is a Comic Talkers production, and you were listening to Just for Flicks. What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Patty B. With me, as always, is Mr. B-Dog, Mr. Brandon. What's going on today, man? How you doing?
I'm excited for this one. This is going to be an interesting conversation to have about talking about Robin Williams and roles that either he could have played at one point or roles that we would have loved to see. But we couldn't do this without a guest. I'm glad to introduce him for the first time to the podcast. You know him on the Anime Talkers side of our Comic Talkers podcast. Please welcome for the first time ever, Ty. Ty, how are you doing?
Tired.
It's all in the name.
So let me ask Ty before we get started. What is your overall favorite Rob Williams performance? We have to ask before.
Well, that's hard. Like, I haven't watched all of his movie, but from what I've seen growing up, you know what I mean? Like, there's Jumanji, there's Flubber, Aladdin. Like, I never really thought of my favorite before. That's a good one. I guess I watched Jumanji more.
I love
growing
Jumanji.
up, so I'm gonna just say Jumanji for now.
Okay. At least you didn't choose like Pat did with Kristen Dunst being in it too, but
Yeah, that's a childhood crush right there.
What movie is that one?
Jumanji.
Is it?
Kristen Dunst. She's like the little girl.
See how tired I am?
Yeah, Kristen Dunst from the Spider-Man movies, Tobey Maguire ones.
Oh yes, I forgot she was in there. I was.
The
See how tired I am?
Bring it on.
See how tired I am, man?
Yeah. So the goal today is what we're going to be talking about are either roles that we would have loved to see Robin Williams in, or what he was announced to be a part of at one point. You might hear us talk about the Joker, where he was pretty much was put as the Joker, taken down, and promised Riddler, and then never happened. You might hear us talk about fantasy castings that we wish we would have seen. But let's go into some roles that he was supposedly offered. He was offered to play Willy Wonka.
Which one?
The Tim Burton one?
I think so, because to me he wasn't really known.
He was too young to do the Gene Wilder.
Like, to be totally honest, I'll put it out there. I actually think Robin Williams could have pulled that off more than Johnny Depp.
Yeah, but Gene Wilder's Gene Wilder, man. I don't know. Like that was like Gene Wilder's role of a lifetime.
Right. And I'm not ever denying that. I would never take that away. Gene Wilder, that's his performance. I love him. I love everything about the original. But I remember when they announced it, I was very scared. And then, being 10 years old at the time and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory really being a big part of my life, it was one of those movies that I didn't want to see remade. And I think
how do you know? You were 10.
Because it was one of those movies that I watched a lot with my family. So, but I wasn't also a big Johnny Depp fan at the time. I like Johnny Depp more now, older, but at the time I was just kind of scared of it because I was like, why do they need a remake? Why do they need to do all this? And it was decent, but I actually think Williams would have played a good role in that. I just think that awkwardness, the comedical performance, I think you would have gotten more of that from him that we needed. What would your guys' take on him as Willy Wonka? Let me see. I'm gonna see what you guys think.
I could see your thought behind it of like how he would be good. I think he could be a dick, kind of like how Willy Wonka comes off as one throughout the movie. I just like you said, I don't know if he would. I think he would fit it. Excuse me. I feel like he would fit in better in the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka
Yeah.
as opposed to Tim Burton. And I'm sure we'll get into, we wish, he could probably, I wish that he was in a Tim Burton movie, but would it be that movie? No, I don't think it would.
Like, another thing I thought about that movie too, before we go to Ty, what if he, now we know Christopher Lee is the one that plays the dad of Willy Wonka and
Yeah.
Tim Burton. What if he played the dad? Somebody who has the acting chops of a dramatic actor. Kind of pardon me, kind of a dick role.
I know he was older technically at that time. I
Mhm.
think he would have to make his appearance look a little bit older though as well. Like you would have to maybe kind of spruce up the oldness a little bit.
Let's see, Christopher Lee was pretty old. I don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is I feel like that character needs to be older
Yeah.
necessarily. So
Now, Ty, what do you think about him as Willy Wonka?
I think that would be pretty interesting. But if you were to replace Johnny Depp's role for that time,
Hmm.
I think it would be completely different from Johnny Depp because I think Johnny Depp, if I remember correctly, he invented the character, like the voice and the weird like talking, like
yeah,
how would Robin like do his own style of that? You know what I mean? Will he
Yeah,
do it like the old school one, or will he just make up his own like Johnny Depp did?
also, yeah,
yeah. Now, here's some other roles I'm going to bring up that he supposedly was up for, but it's unconfirmed. Jack Torrance from The Shining. He was up for.
really.
I do not see him in this film. I just don't.
You know what? I think he probably. I feel like that role needed to be an established actor, such as Jack Nicholson.
Right.
So I just don't know if they would have been able to swing that because I don't think he was established enough, especially coming off of the heels of Mork and Mindy and then going right into Jack Torrance in The Shining. For how serious of a role that is, I don't see it.
Right. What about you, Ty, on that? Or what do you think?
I think I would love to see him do like a type of role like that. Like we usually just see him like in like comedies, kids movies and stuff like that. But like in a movie like The Shining, that would be great for like his career rise, like different type of roles instead of just the same one. You know what I mean?
Right. It's
Like
what it's one of those like now Pat knows, and I have a love-hate relationship with The Shining. I think Jack Nicholson, and by the way, this isn't the only role that Robin Williams lost to by Jack Nicholson, because we're going to go into another one here shortly. But I think he would have brought a different aspect to it. I think it's one of those roles that at the time this movie came out, this is when he was starting. I just don't see it happening. But for how you said, Pat, how it was weird to work with Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
I think it'd have been really weird to work with Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, mind you, this wouldn't have been the only film that Shelley Duvall and Robin Williams, if he was offered this role, would have appeared in.
Yeah.
Because they did appear in Popeye together. Now, do I see that happening? I don't. I think if he would have taken The Shining, his whole career would have changed. It's one of those things that when you take a role, like even though Jack Nicholson was an established actor by the time, you had Chinatown, you had One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, you had quite a few big performances of his.
Yeah.
But he's known that he can play the creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see Ron Williams at that time because he was still a comedical actor. The first time we really saw some acting from him in a dramatic role was really kind of 1987 with Good Morning Vietnam, and then going to Dead Poet Society shortly after, and then The Fisher King, and things like that. That's when we saw him going more dramatic. I just don't see him playing a role like that.
I can't like, am I sorry for cutting in. He has the facial expression to like to do that stuff and the voice. I guess, and sometimes his hair too. He could have that look where he looks crazy and stuff. I think he could do it.
Now, here are some other. This one, I just want to see your guys' facial reaction. He was supposedly supposed to be the voice of Howard the Duck. Now, that would have been fun to watch. I think that movie would have been 10 times better if he was voicing Howard the Duck. That would have been that we've seen Howard the Duck. At this point, I actually could see it. I don't know, because he pretty much could go off the rails in that movie.
In a serious way or like a funny way?
Oh, in a funny way. Oh,
Yeah.
heck, Howard the Duck is always comedical. Like, you cannot sit there and not watch a Howard the Duck or read a Howard Duck comic and not think comedical.
I'm not too familiar with Howard the Duck. I guess that's.
Be glad you're not. I know Duck Chew. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad.
It's what's your take on that, Ty? You kind of gave a facial expression there for okay.
Oh, just that's a interesting. I never heard of that before, but like,
yeah.
I could probably see him do that. I don't really watch, a lot of or read a lot of Howard stuff, but like, just knowing the character a little bit is like, can he do it?
Yeah.
Probably.
Now, before we go to the Joker, because I know the Joker will have a lot of things to discuss. He was all supposedly up for grabs for Joe in Philadelphia. Tom Hanks role.
Is that Tom Hanks' character? Yeah.
I could see it.
I could see it too.
This time he's already established as a dramatic actor. He could play a performance like that. But I'm glad it was Tom Hanks. Like, the question is, though, if Robin Williams did perform in that movie, do you think he would have won an Oscar like Tom Hanks did for that movie?
Do I think he would have won an Oscar for it? I would think he'd be at least nominated, considering the work he did right around that ballpark of Dead Poets Society.
Well, during that time frame, it was Mrs. Doubtfire and Aladdin and all
Fisher King and all that. Yeah, I definitely think he could have pulled it off for sure. I don't know necessarily winning it because we'll never know. I mean, we'll never know what it would be, but I mean, I would say yeah, that one for sure fits.
Now, here's the more interesting one before we go to Joker. This one I could actually see him do it. Frank from Little Miss Sunshine. This is Steve Carell's role.
Okay.
I could see him playing a role like this. It's sad though, because it is a man who is depressed. It is a man who's going through a lot. Steve Carell, this was to me one of my favorite performances of his. I still put it up there as one of my top 5 performances of Steve Carell up there, period. Nothing's going to beat Brick from Anchorman, but it's just a point that to him take a dramatic role like this, like I know, Pat, you would choose something like Steve Carell for Foxcatcher. But for me, Little Miss Sunshine kind of was his first big dramatic role, and I actually thought he did a really good job with it. But Ron Williams in that performance, if he would have not been nominated, I would be shocked. That's where I've been snuffed easily. I don't even Steve Carell was nominated. There was a guy who won it in that movie, and that was Alan Arkin for Best Supporting.
He won it, right?
He did win.
I've never seen that movie. I think I've seen snippets of it, but
it's a good movie. You guys, if you guys have not watched it, go watch Little Miss Sunshine. I didn't like it at first, and then when I watched it, really is a good movie. It will make you. It's another, I wouldn't say feel good movie, because there are stuff that happens on the road trip, but it is a very like heartwarming film near the end of it all. It will make you think about a lot. Alan Arkin well deserved his Oscar win for this. But Steve Carell to me should have been nominated at least for this role. And to see Robin Williams, if Robin Williams did not win, but you imagine him and Alan Arkin acting together.
Yeah,
that would be a fun duo to watch. Like, let's talk about the Joker though. Now the Joker, he was promised the role with Tim Burton. Then they switched to Jack Nicholson. Now, this isn't the first time he's lost a performance to him, or they went another way where it went right to Jack Nicholson, because like we said, we were talking, Shining was one of them as well. Now, with this though, it came another promise. He would play the Riddler. which I actually think he still would have been an interesting Riddler. I know Ty and I, we've had this conversation before in the past, going to cons and stuff, about what it would have been like if Williams played Riddler or played a Batman villain, to have those moments with him. Now, let me ask you guys this. Would you have rather seen him as the Joker? Or would you rather have seen him as the Riddler?
I think he would have fit better as the Joker, in my opinion.
Okay. What about you, Ty?
Same. Like I can't really see him in like weird tights and stuff, for the Riddler.
Exactly what I thought too. I'm like, I can't see him as this like flamboyant guy in these
Yeah,
tights.
like
But mind you, I think he wouldn't be in tights. He'd be in a stinking suit. That's like the Riddler.
He's got more class, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Not he's not skinny like Jim Carrey. He could pull off the tights.
Well, speaking of Jim Carrey and suits, I guess you'd say that's kind of a weird segue. But one of my roles I was gonna throw in there where I could see him doing is The Mask. I just think, it'd be a different movie, obviously. I don't think he would have the same mannerisms as Jim Carrey does in that film, but I could see it. I could definitely see it. So that's just one I had to throw out there because it was on my list. I made a list of like 7 different things, and
I could see why you did it. I see it. I think at the point where I would, that's why I said, like, for me with Philadelphia and things like that, it's hard because at that time out, he was in family roles.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey wasn't really established at the time. That was like Jim Carrey's first big role. Was, I see why, because it really could just be Robin Williams unhinged. Like, literally, there's no holding back. I think the movie could have gotten a little darker at that point. But it's hard because to me, I love Jim Carrey's performance, and that's so much that it's hard for me to say, yeah, I'd put him up there, because now you got me thinking. What's your take on that, time with The Mask? With Robin?
I'm probably in the same boat as you. Like I can't really see Robin Williams taking over The Mask because Jim Carrey has more of the facial expression, just keep changing a lot. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
he
the charisma behind it, right?
Yeah, like he brings it out, even though in the comics it is a bit darker. It's exactly 10 times darker than the movie itself.
Oh yeah.
Right, Brandon? You read it, right? Yeah.
The comic is way more. And I've talked over with Pat too, that it's a very dark comic in the past. That's why I said it's at that time that was family movie Robin. You got to remember, like, there's certain time frames with his movies. That's when Aladdin, Doubtfire came out shortly after. There's different characters like that. You want me to tell you one I would have loved to seen him do, and I might get some hint on this. Maybe not. I would have loved him to be the narrator of Smalls, like older Smalls in the Sandman.
Small?
Oh,
okay. Oh, okay.
Having that moment with where he could have been the older Smalls, and that's during that time frame.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that we never really seen Robin in a lot with sports movies. And like, you have some, but not as iconic as like something like The Sandlot, or I would have loved to seen him in that role. Like, as this narrator.
I get it. I like that, and I'll wager you this too with the narrating part. It's like as soon as you said narrating that movie, the first film for me that came up in my head where I could also see him narrating would be Stand By Me.
Yeah, I guess he
as the Richard Dreyfuss character, an older version, obviously, but I just think that would fit too. And I like that though. As Smalls, that's good. Yeah, I like that.
But there's also another baseball movie, and I talked to Pat before, and then we'll go. I also pitched Al from Angels in the Outfield. I could see him be that charismatic Christopher Lloyd, but more funnier. Like, you imagine him on the stinking foul pole That'd have been hilarious. I don't care. Like Ron or Christopher Lloyd did a real good job with it, but I think Ron Williams would have been that. I feel like let me tell you this, and there's one scene why I say this. There's one scene about this movie that I think Ron Williams would have played a 10 times better role in. It's when he comes down and tells him that Tony Danza's character, Mel Clark, is going to heaven soon.
Yeah.
6 months. Having that with Christopher Lloyd, I kind of just felt, how do you say it? It is different. Yeah, it just is not him. Having somebody like Robin, I think that scene would have been a little bit more, it hit you more, where it was like even having that moment, the Angels aren't coming today. Championships got to be played on their own. It's those moments that I think Ron Williams does a really good job with because he works well with kids. He always has shown that. And this is his family movie time. This is his time frame where he was doing a lot of those movies. And to have that, and these are two of the best baseball films in 94. They came out near the same time. As I said, like if I had to choose one over the other, I'd choose Smalls because I think that would have been a better narration. Have that with Smalls and him being the announcer at the end of it all, watching Benny the Jet play. It's one of those moments that I think would work well. It's sad because all mine came in 94 that I'm pitching. So so I even pitched Pumbaa from Lion King, which came out in 94, 95. Another film that I feel like him and Nathan Lane would have been great in, especially their chemistry in Birdcage. So having that, I think would have been fun. Now, Ty, let me ask you this. I know, like, we've talked about, too, in the past, like we said, comic book roles.
Yeah.
What is a role in a comic book film that you could see him do? If it's not the Joker.
If it's not the Joker, huh?
If it's not the Joker.
I kind of want to see him as a villain instead of a hero. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
I want to see his role be different to see what he could bring out. So it would have to be somebody like smart, almost like the Riddler, but not. It doesn't have to be DC, right?
Like kind
Marvel,
of
DC.
like a Loki kind of situation. Like it's more conniving, but he can have a comedical sense.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I could see him playing Ben Grimm for some reason. The Thing, I don't know why, but I think that would be funny to watch him in. Him and have somebody like, because mind you, at the time Michael Chiklis was up there in age when he played the Thing. Robert Williams would just have been a fun one to have him and Chris Evans go back and forth. But I don't know. I agree with you with the villain side, though. I think the villain side's more interesting for him because we have seen him play dark roles in the past, like Insomnia, 1 Hour Photo. I think it would be great in that time frame. That would have worked because that's his dark movie time frame. That is moments of playing the dark roles.
One thing that came up to me, and I'm like, I don't think he could take away from this actor and the performance that he provided, but I was thinking Green Goblin. I know it'd be kind of weird. It'd probably be a different take on the character. Obviously, Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin is it's the chef's kiss. It's fantastic. Another
I got something for you. Now you got me thinking. Sandman.
Yeah.
I could see playing that because hey, what was it? Hayden Church's up there in age.
Hayden Church, yeah.
He was up there in age. He's probably about near the same age as Robin, close to it. I could see him playing a role like that because he would have brought more sympathy to the role. And I think that's the whole thing with Sandman is you can make him a very sympathetic villain. It's like Alfred Molina, but that's what's hard because I can't take away from Alfred Molina's role.
Be like, no, I want to see Robin Williams as Bonesaw.
Bonesaw's ready. Hey now. Hey now. I'm over here. Now I'm over there. What are you gonna do? The chain man coming for you. That's why I said that would be fun just to see him just play I agree with that. I think I like the sense of being a villain, but I think he could pull the sympathetic villain card
Yeah.
than a comedical. Like I like him as a Riddler. Again, another role you really can't take away because Jim Carrey showed his performance, and Paul Dano now is taken in a whole different way. Um, but okay, so let's ask Ty the question. Okay, you've already said you weren't pitching roles. You were like,
Mhm.
I'm pitching a movie that I would like to see him.
Yeah.
What's your pitch?
Like because of his personality, right?
Mhm.
What if he's like in a movie where he has like different personality where you know you see him as the goofy side, but then later find out he was the serial killer after all, you know?
So you're kind of pitching like a split movie.
Yeah. But instead of, like 26, it's just, him and the serial killer. So like let's say he's looking for the murder of his brother, but then he finds out it was him the whole time.
Right. I can see it. Like I know they dabbled into it, not so much in like I feel like they dabbled into that a little bit with 1 Hour Photo. Well,
With Photo.
like 1 hour. I thought that too with Insomnia, but he was still himself, and we know that. Like we know he was that charismatic self. It
Yeah.
was but what happened is what caused him to do it. I think 1 Hour Photo more is like that, but I like the side of what if he had multiple personalities and did a role like that. I actually think that would work for him because he could be everything. Doesn't have to just be a dramatic actor. Doesn't have to be a comedical actor. Can be a horror character. There's a lot that comes out of
Yeah.
that.
I don't know why. I want to think that I could see Robin Williams playing a role, not saying the main role, but in Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
I could see him, honestly, the first character that I thought of I could see him playing is William H. Macy's character.
Yeah.
Being the guy whose wife is constantly cheating on him and fucking anyone at the party in front of him. But he's the guy that shoots all the porn. He's not necessarily the porn actor, but he does all the filming for it, producer and all that stuff. Um, I think I would have loved to see Robin Williams in any Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I think he would have been fine. Um, I think of Magnolia for one.
Yeah.
He could have easily played a role in Magnolia. And I also think There Will Be Blood. Even though There Will Be Blood has two main actors in it, it's not a very star-studded movie as opposed to a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies. I just think I'm not gonna go here and I'm not gonna say it's Daniel Day-Lewis's movie. Or Daniel Day-Lewis's role. I'm just gonna say that he probably could have played a role within that film, maybe supporting around Daniel Day-Lewis, like part of his crew or something like that, or maybe like one of the banker guys or something. I'd like to think that there's a universe out there where he is in one of Paul Thomas Anderson's films. And I think we got robbed of that. I really do. I think there was a lot of potential there and it just never happened.
Leave There Will Be Blood out of the conference. I'm just messing. That is one.
Could you imagine him just being like, I'll drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
And then he beats the shit out of the guy with the bowling.
That's a great ending.
That is a good movie. It's one of those. I got one to pitch that I think would be good for ties. Multiple personalities. When they did the remake of Psycho, I think he would have played a better Norman Bates than Vince.
Okay. I actually haven't seen the remake.
So the remake isn't good. And
Okay, then that I won't watch it then.
yeah, it's Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates, which is kind of weird. I just don't see, like, when you think of Vince Vaughn, what do you think of? Wes Mantooth from Anchorman or Dodgeball, or things like that. He's a comedical actor. He doesn't do well. Like, he does good in Hacksaw Ridge, but there's still comedical performances in that movie with him. That's why I said for him to play Norman Bates, it was weird. It just wasn't his movie. Robin Williams, this is during his creepy time. This is during insomnia or going into 1 hour photo. This is off the heels of Good Will Hunting. I could have seen that movie do 10 times better if maybe somebody like Robin Williams stepped up to the plate and played Norman.
Okay.
And he has multiple personalities because we know that his mom's part of it. Mom's one personality, and then he has his normal. So he's his normal self, very humble, very comedical, but then you have that serial killer side of him. Turn into, I could see that. I don't know why, but I could see that more now. But
I think there's 2 more movies that I think he would have been perfect in. I'll go with Rounders as the John Malkovich character.
okay.
And I think this other one would have been perfect too. I think because one thing we've learned with Robin Williams over the years in movies that he's in, he's good with kids, right? In a lot of movies. I think he would have been perfect. Absolutely perfect in The Sixth Sense.
Over are you replacing Bruce Willis?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't taking anything away from Bruce Willis because I think it's one of Bruce Willis's best roles, in my opinion.
It's my if we ever did a Bruce Willis, this would be my number 1 or number 2.
Yeah, I just think if you had, say, Bruce Willis was, doing, a 15th Die Hard film at the time or something like that, you would have been like, okay, let's see if Robin Williams wants to do this role. If I was M. Night Shyamalan, I would be like, yeah, that's not a bad choice. I just think he would have been perfect.
I just thought of a video of if Robin Williams did a parody of him being Anakin, since he's so good with kids, just killing the younglings.
Oh no! No,
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Oh man.
I also think that he's really good at accents, right? He can do accents pretty well. I mean, that's kind of what Rounders. That's kind of what Rounders was coming up to. I could just see him being John Malkovich character. He's like, check. He eats an Oreo, check. But Brandon, you know me. I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan. Obviously, prepping for this episode, I had to think of some kind of Quentin Tarantino movie to fit him into. And I came up with Inglourious Bastards. And
we're gonna go this route with them.
My reason being, and it'd be a short cameo scene. I loved how Mike Myers was in this film as the English guy that was kind of getting Operation Kino ready to go. I could see Robin Williams being Mike Myers' character just for that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The bars in the globe. Why don't you be a good chap and make something? I think it would have been perfect.
I have one more I want to pitch. Pat and Ty know I'm a big Kevin Smith guy. And I've always wanted to see him in a Kevin Smith film. Now, mind you, Good Will Hunting is something that Kevin Smith helped produce, but it is not a directed film by Kevin Smith. I could see him something like Chasing Amy or Dogma.
I could absolutely 100% see him in Dogma.
Like I love
could see him as Colonel Glick.
See, I actually thought, even though I love Alan Rickman,
Cardinal Glick.
That is him?
Well, no, that's I was just thinking Cardinal Glick is George Carlin's character.
Oh yes. I see him being the angel, taking over Alan Rickman's role if Alan didn't do it.
Oh, the Metatron. Behold the Metatron. See, I love Alan Rickman in that movie.
I do.
I don't think that movie isn't the same without Alan Rickman in it.
I think it's one of those movies. Any movie with Alan Rickman, another actor, rest in peace, is any movie with him in it is great. Like, I have never watched an Alan Rickman film and say I absolutely hated it. I love him as Snape in Harry Potter. I love him in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxies, The Road. I love him in that movie. It's a role that you would never. I love him as Hans Gruber from Die Hard.
Harry Potter. Harry Potter, come here to my chambers.
Ron Weasley.
Ron Weasley.
But it's just one of those
Wingardium Leviosa.
alluvial song.
Turn to page 394.
It's just one of those, like, that's an actor overall. I would have loved to seen Alan and Ron Williams do a movie together. Like, that would be a fun duo to watch. I don't know why, but I would have loved to seen him in any Kevin Smith film as a cameo, or I would have loved to see him in a Wes Anderson film.
I was thinking too. I thought about that. I was just trying to think of what film of Wes Anderson's would he fit into.
Oh, he could have done James Caan easy. From easy.
I knew that's what you were gonna go to, bro. And I was like,
110%.
no, I'm gonna shut that shit down quick.
Or Life Aquatic, he would have been good in.
He would have been okay. So I thought that was the movie I thought of, and I thought of him being Willem Dafoe's character,
See,
the German guy.
Good in that movie though.
I know he is. I know, but
you took away two good Willem Dafoe input.
I know. Well, so I was either thinking that there's I could see him being Bill Murray's role in Rushmore.
I can see that.
I just love Bill Murray in that movie. That's the thing that's hard because I love that movie because of Bill Murray. Same thing with Life Aquatic. That's why I couldn't come to grasp with giving him the Steve Zissou.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. But yeah, no, that's I thought about the Wes Anderson thing, and that's it's the first thing I
you imagine the versatile colors that he'd have on with Wes Anderson?
Oh, dude,
that would be so fun. If
I just can't put him in my beloved Bottle Rocket.
Like, I'll put him up there. This is a fantasy booking nowadays. If he was, I'd put him as Grand Buddha. I know this happened after his passing, but I think he would have played a good role in Ray Fiennes' role. Oh, yeah, I would have taken Ray Fiennes out of that movie. And like, I love Ray Fiennes in that movie. I feel like Ron Williams would have had more of that charisma. And the colors is like you said, the colors is in Wes Anderson films what tells the story too. And the movie, and I feel like with that, having that charisma from Ron Williams, I think it would work. I actually really do think that. I'm still a very big proponent on that.
I see what you're saying there. I just think Ralph Fiennes, his as Mr. Gustav, he's great. There's a lot of witty lines he says in it.
I just look at him as more of a dramatic actor, and that's what's hard because look at him, he's vulnerable, or he's in the list, the English Patient, and things like that. There's a lot of big roles he's in that he's more dramatic, and it is dramatic, but it's comical dramatic. Like, it's one of those movies that you could sit there and laugh through the Grand Budapest Hotel and have those moments. And you imagine those moments with Robin Williams if he was in that role.
Yeah,
it would be more special to me, I think. But okay, so let's say this. What's a movie? I'm gonna start with Ty this round. What are movies that you were glad he never took on? Like, what are performances that you go, I'm glad he never took this side of a performance? Or like this, like it was a horror role or a thing like that. What are you glad he never did as an actor?
Well, unlike you guys, I don't really do like studies on stuff like this. So I actually don't know what role he was offered or denied. Like, let's say he was offered his role, went there to audition, but didn't get it. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just letting you guys know. I don't really know anything like that.
Okay.
But like, we will never know, like, how it turns out. Like, if you were to take the other other roles, like The Shining, stuff like that, like like already you see good actors in these roles, like, but we'll never see like if he will be better at it than them. Yeah.
We know him and we know him from Ferngulf. Two of his biggest animation roles, which is more shocking because you would think he'd take on more. He's that voice actor. He's the charismatic, like Pat said too, the one with the dialogue changes, the his accents, his everything. What's an animated role? Like I pitched Pumbaa. But what are other animation roles that you could see him play?
Professor Oak.
Which one?
Professor Oak from
Oh,
Pokemon.
okay.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun one.
I mean, we already seen him as a scientist, and the hair. So
People forget about robots too. His
oh,
his
yeah, I
role
do
in
forget
robots.
that he's in Robots. I do forget he's in Robots.
I only know that because my son loves that movie.
I don't know he's in robots.
Yeah, he is. He's the crazy robot. The red one, the second, like like his co-star in the movie.
Oh
You
wow.
is the main one, and then it's him.
Huh.
And Halle Berry's in the film, and Drew Carey's.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yep, and Amanda Bynes was in this film. This is during her.
Oh man, fine.
And she is in this movie. People forget about that one too. I forget about Robots entirely, but it's still a good movie.
I don't, unfortunately.
You don't like that movie?
I'm a dad. I'm forced to watch movies I
You're
don't want.
forced to watch.
You're a
I
movie guy.
you want me
No,
to
I get that. I'm just saying, Brandon knows this. I'm not a big animated. I don't like animated movies much. There's obviously some.
this? I'll put you right now. I wished he would have played in Toy Story.
Toy
Mm.
Story. Yeah.
Which toy though?
That's what's hard because if I pitch the one I really want, they take away another iconic actor from the movie. I would have pitched Mr. Potato Head.
Oh, Don Rickles.
I would have taken Don Rickles, and it's sad because I love Don Rickles, and I think Don Rickles brings that sarcastic side of Mr. Potato Head out. Ron Williams would have been more like, I guess, more, how do you say it?
Funny?
Yeah, I put him up there, like
Goofy?
even him, or I put him a Stinky Pete. Take Kelsey Grammer out of the question. I love Kelsey Grammer, but take him out of the question and put him this is his creepy stint again. So this is during that time where he could be in a family film and still be the
Mhm.
Stinky Pete. I don't think he would have been far off of.
I was thinking Slinky Dog, and I know that's sad to say because I like Jim Varney as Slinky Dog, and I know rest in peace to him because I mean he only did the first two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know for his character, did they just piece in words from him after that, or did someone else?
I don't know because I think that was the whole question too with Don Rickles because Don Rickles passed before the fourth.
Yeah, I forgot about that too.
He passed before the fourth one. I know they weren't in it as much.
Who's the? Is it Walter Shawn or the guy that plays the Rex?
Rex? That's Walter Shawn. I'm not happy, Bob.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not happy, Bob.
I can see Rob Williams playing that role too, but I just that iconic line right there you cannot have without Walter.
With his accents and everything, I was thinking of Gusteau from Ratatouille.
I can see that. I really, but see, Brad Garrett is good in that.
So good. He's so good with his voice and everything.
I do like him in that film.
I am just a pigment of your imagination.
I could see. You want me to tell you the one I would have loved to seen him in?
What?
Another Willem Dafoe role. Gil. From
Yeah.
That's Willem Dafoe. I could see it's sad because
Willem Dafoe is getting just blasted out.
I like it
because when I didn't want to keep. Go ahead.
I feel like that's why we're doing it, right? Willem Dafoe and Robin Williams are kind of on that same level when you really think about it. They're versatile actors that can play in both comedical and dramatic roles.
I would love to see I would love to see Robin Williams as Willem Dafoe's character in the Boondock Saints.
God.
I was thinking the same shit where he was just like a woman, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking of it was a firefight.
I was thinking that like 10 minutes ago.
It's one of those, like, that's why I said, like, I could see him in a lot of Pixar films, and it's shocking that he didn't perform in one Pixar film at all.
It's a missed opportunity right there.
I think so. I'd put that up there. Like Bugs Life, I don't know who I put up there for him Toy Story, like I said, Stinky Pete, or
I was gonna say Bugs
even
Life
Bosso would
is
be interesting. I think. I was gonna say like, oh yeah, you could put on Mike Wazowski, but again, another Billy Crystal film that it's hard to take him out. Cause I almost said when Harry Met Sally, but again, I can't. That's Billy Crystal's roles. That's why I said that was hard because to me, I think it was a missed opportunity for Pixar. They could have had Ron Williams, and I think it was a
Water News from Monsters Inc. But then I think James Colburn's voice is way too good for that character.
Everybody in that film is so good. Even Steve Buscemi's good in that film.
Yeah,
John Goodman's good in that film. There's a lot of people that I could see. I'm on a roll today, and so and it's like all of a sudden, no, all of a sudden having the moment. But again, you would have like Finding Nemo. I think is probably the best one you could do him in because Finding Nemo is so broad. I guess is a good way to put it. There's a lot of things that you could see in the sea. You could have him as Mr. Ray as the teacher. You could have had him as just a small role because a lot of actors in that film are pretty big name actors, but they play small roles in that film just to be in a Pixar film. Will does not play a big role in this film, and he's in it. Brad Garrett's in this film. There's a lot of actors in this film that people forget about, and it's good. That's why I pitched Finding Nemo possible. I think would be the best way to get him in.
Finding Nemo.
I'm not happy. Anyway,
Happy Bob.
I'm not happy, Bob.
That's so good.
That's gonna be my whole thing when we do an Incredibles watch along. Be like, I'm not happy, Bob. I'll be like, I know that line like word by word.
Almost wish your name was Bob, just so I could say that to you. I'm not happy, Bob.
I'm not happy, Bob.
I think this is...
But no, but anyway, but fans, let us know what you guys think about Ron Williams. Let us know in the comments what roles you wished you would have put him in. Let us know what you think about the roles that we even discussed. We want to thank Ty for coming on and having this discussion with us about Ron Williams. You can check us out on Comic Talkers for anime and comic book content on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, then Spotify, YouTube for other great content. And you can check out J4F Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and also check out Just for Flicks on Spotify. Without further ado, turn it over to Patty B to take us out.
Yeah, man, this was a fun one. This was a good brainstorming episode or discussion, I should say, between us three. Ty, thank you for joining us on this. It was fun having you, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Mr. B Dog, thank you as always. And ladies and gentlemen, just remember, we do it just for flicks. Bye-bye now.